All right, we're back in IntelliJ and I have the build.gradle file open. Whenever you make a change to the dependencies, whether you've added or removed some, you can refresh the project's jar files through the Gradle tool window. With a Gradle project open, like the one we have here, you can see the Gradle tool window by choosing View, Tool Windows, then Gradle, and the window that pops up on the right here is the Gradle tool window. In this window, you should see this refresh button. We'll use that to refresh the dependencies when we change them in the dependencies block here. Let's expand external libraries on the left panel here and see what's on the class path now. The first one is the Java Core library for Java version 1.8, and the next two are the dependencies of our project. JUnit is a library that is listed as a dependency here in our build file. You see JUnit. And Hamcrest here is a dependency of JUnit, but Gradle figures that out for us, so we don't have to explicitly list it as a dependency in the dependencies block here. That's the beauty of Gradle. And just to drive home the fact that these external libraries are indeed jar files, let's expand each one of these, JUnit and Hamcrest, to reveal the fact that yes, we indeed have a jar file here and a jar file here. I'm going to collapse these two dependencies and go into our dependencies block and delete what we have in here to add one of our own. Let's make it the main one we'll use throughout this course, the Spring Web MVC library. This is the part of the Spring framework that will allow us to write our web application. The basic way of adding a dependency in Gradle is by typing compile, followed by single quotes, then the group name, which in our case is org.springframework. We follow that with another colon and then the group ID, which in this case is spring-mvc. Then another colon followed by the version, which as of the recording of this course is 4.2.1.release in all caps. I'll go ahead and save that file. If you're having trouble memorizing that, never fear. Switch to a web browser and do a quick Google search of Spring Web MVC Maven. I use Maven here because the main repository we're going to use is called Maven Central. We see a bunch of search results here, but the one that we are interested in is the one that comes from mvnrepository.com. Let's click on that. There we see Spring MVC. We'll choose the version that we like, which is now version 4.2.2.release. And we see a series of tabs here at the bottom. I'll choose Gradle since that's the dependency management tool that we are using. Here you see the exact line you need that follows the compile keyword in your Gradle build file. So you can highlight that, copy it, then go back into IntelliJ and paste that. Let's review what we just typed. We have the compile keyword, which tells Gradle that we want this dependency available at compile time. That is, it's required in order for our source code to compile. Then we have the group ID, org.springframework, followed by a colon. Then the artifact ID, spring-webmvc, followed by another colon. And finally, the version, which is 4.2.2.release. To see Gradle in action, let's save this file, then click the refresh button in the Gradle tool window. If you watch the external dependencies on the left, you'll see them grow substantially. Here I'll reiterate an important feature of a dependency management tool like Gradle. It resolves dependencies for you. In the case of our Spring app, we need to utilize the Spring-MVC library in our code. But the Spring-MVC library has a bunch of dependencies of its own, 6 of them to be exact, and 2 of those have yet more dependencies. So here is where I say, thank you, Gradle, for doing so much with such little instruction. Okay, we've got our local environment set up to start coding and even our project created. After a quick check for understanding, we'll dive into the world of using Java to develop web applications.